Have you ever thought about what your baby is actually experiencing when you sing to them? Because it turns out your baby doesn't care whether you think you can sing. Your baby wants to hear you sing. And those little moments of singing, playing, smiling, and simply enjoying each other can do far more than fill the time. They can help you build secure connection, support emotional regulation, and even lay foundations for language. Vered, today's guest, calls some of these experiences bubble moments. Those beautiful moments when you and your child are genuinely happy together. And what I love is that she says we don't have to just wait for those moments to happen. We can actually create them, especially in the ordinary, repeatable moments of our days. And then Vered said something that's absolutely fascinating to me. A song can become an emotional transitional object for a child, much like a blanket or pacifier, because the music itself holds feeling. Today we're talking about music, play, connection, regulation, sound and silence, and how it all supports your child's communication and language. So yes, even if you're convinced you cannot sing, this episode is for you. Does your child have a speech-language delay and you really want them to talk? Do difficult behaviors derail home life and you know the frustration is a communication struggle? Does your child see a speech therapist and you wonder, what do they do and how can I help? If these or similar questions are in your mind, this podcast is for you. Hello, my name is Dina Lynn Rosenbusch. I am a speech-language pathologist that has worked with children from birth to 21 for 3 decades. And in my classrooms, I see you wanting to connect with the heart of your child, but their speech and language skills create a barrier. So if you have a kiddo that has difficult behaviors, needs to expand their language or learn to say speech sounds, and maybe even receives speech therapy, stay tuned, because in this podcast, you will learn how to use your daily life as a tool to communication practice and how to do that practice. You will become confident knowing you are making the difference you want to make. And you will hear success stories of parents who have navigated these struggles already. We'll do this all while focusing on building deep, meaningful connection and confidence in your kiddo. So grab a cup of coffee along with a notebook and pen. It's time to speak in the way your child's brain understands. And that is the language of play. Welcome back to the language of play. First, let's acknowledge our wonderful sponsor, Clever Ellie. I got Clever Ellie a few weeks back, out of curiosity, just to try it. Now, I think I will buy it as a regular baby shower gift, because we all think I would never forget a child in the car. Of course we think that. We love our children deeply, but real life is distracting. Parents are tired. Our brains are bombarded, and forgetfulness is a human experience, not a reflection of how much we love our children. Clever Ellie is a charger you plug into your car just like any other, except that this one gently reminds you to check the back seat when you turn off the car. Check out Clever Ellie for your own family or as baby shower gifts. Just follow the link in the show notes and you'll receive a free charging cable as a special bonus as a listener of the language of play. Before we get into this episode, I want to say that if you're repeating yourself lots and lots of times and you're giving longer explanations or you're getting loud when your child isn't listening, I want you to consider something. Maybe you don't need to try harder. Maybe what you need to know is what is actually getting in the way for your child. And that's a really different problem to solve. Inside my group coaching experiences, I help you recognize the skills that are underneath listening and comprehension and language and follow through, so that you're not just trying harder and doing another parenting technique and keeping up all that effort while you're hoping that it works. Instead, you begin to understand why something isn't working and what your child needs from you instead. Because when you change how you communicate, your child changes how they respond. And if that sounds like what you've been looking for, join the waitlist at thelanguageofplay.com/waitlist. And you will be notified when the next group coaching experience is happening. We're just closing out the group that is happening now, and I feel so proud of the parents in the group. It's not easy to change how you interact, but when you do, you get results like this parent said. She said, I feel like I have a better grasp on how to explain things to my child. The group has taught us how to give grace to our children and to one another. We feel more capable of handling day-to-day parenting, such as simple tasks of getting our kids' attention and to have them listen to us so we're not feeling burnt out by asking the same thing 100 times. Comments like these are typical. You are able to bring back joy and peace in your home by changing how you communicate, because your kids are responders and we set the tone. If you want to learn how to do that, again, join me by signing up for the waitlist, thelanguageofplay.com/waitlist, and you will be notified when the next session comes available. Now let's get into today's episode with Vered. Now, I want to say right at the get-go that Vered refers to baby all the way through because she did develop her program with parents of babies in mind. But what you discover at the very end is that it's child. We're talking also about child. So this isn't only for babies, even though we refer to babies. And so if you keep your mind open with your child in mind, you're going to see that her music is applicable to toddlers and preschoolers as well. Now let me introduce you to Vered. Vered is a music therapist, a psychotherapist, parenting author, recording artist, and family connection expert whose work brings together attachment theory, music, mindfulness, and play. She is the author of What Do I Do With My Baby All Day? Simple Ways to Have the First Year Together, and has helped thousands of parents build stronger, more joyful relationships with their babies through Baby in Tune, while training practitioners around the world in her approach. Vered's albums have received Parents' Choice Gold Awards and the Napa Gold Awards. She's performed at venues including Symphony Space, Summer Stage New York City, and the Brooklyn Public Library's Central Library. She's contributed her perspective on parenting and early connection to today's parent, Motherly, Scary Mommy, and HuffPost, and has lectured at leading early childhood conferences including 0 to 3, and her new album, Adorable You, arrived August 7th. Vered, I'm so glad to have you on the podcast. This is a beautiful bio because you have been able to do so much. You've accomplished so much. And thank you for coming to share your work with us. And I think that that first year can be, yes. And that first year can be tricky. Tell us how you got into doing those first songs.
Yeah. Well, we have to go back 15 years to when I had my first baby. I did not expect to go into this career track. I mean, I think all of us kind of who turn parenting into our profession, we don't expect to do it. It's not something we can imagine doing. Right. But parenting impacts us in such a deep way as it does everybody. And it kind of veers our career to a whole different place. I was a singer-songwriter before that. I was performing in venues in the East Village and, like Arlene Grocery, The Living Room, Rockwood Music Hall. And by day, I was a music therapist. So I had gone to study music therapy and I was working at Bellevue Hospital. And at a certain point, right when I recorded the last singer-songwriter album, I said to myself, you know what? It is time for me to decide if I'm going to be a singer-songwriter or if I'm going to do something else. And I was pregnant already with my first baby, and I decided it's time for me to be a grown-up and go do a grown-up career. And so I went to start a PhD in clinical psychology, thinking I was giving up on my music career.
Mm.
Not giving up on music, but giving up on it as a career. And yeah, it was a really tough moment. I think artists who are listening will understand this moment of really coming to terms with, can this support me financially or not?
Hmm.
And when you're pregnant with a baby, you're thinking a lot more practically.
Yes.
So I went to study psychology and meanwhile had my baby. And I remember when he was about 6 or 7 months old, I was sitting in class and the professor was talking about attachment theory. I was learning about what makes for a secure connection with your baby. Um, just a quick story that at some point she drew a picture of a smiley face of a mom and a smiley face of a baby and a circle around them, and she said in the first year the baby and the parent are in a blissful bubble. And I rolled my eyes and thought, nope, we're not in a blissful bubble. It's hard for me to breastfeed. He's barely latching. We're not sleeping. I'm not so happy right now. I didn't feel that blissful connection that everyone talks about. I loved my baby, but I didn't feel like that real connection. And I
Hmm.
was having a really hard time with my identity, psychologically, physically.
That
Um,
makes sense. I think a lot of women go through that, whether or
yes.
not they're a musician. That's a real thing.
Yes, yes, yes. And so remember that smiley face and the circle. We're going to come back to that. But I went home to my baby after class each day for those first, 6, 7 months. And I would pick up my baby and I watched my husband sing to him, but I wasn't singing because I had given up on my music and I had a really complicated relationship with music at that point.
Mm.
But slowly, I started to notice how my baby responded to sounds, to
Yeah.
rhythm. And I started to slowly sing with him. And it came through as like just little ditties that I was writing about what we were doing, silly things he was doing, like how he liked to put his hands in his mouth, or how he seemed to be like waiting for me to kind of connect to him, how I was feeling both connected and not connected. I was
Mhm.
writing about all this stuff. Slowly, my music started coming out, mostly because I saw how he responded to me.
Mhm.
And that's what really started our connection. I had to like bring my music in a different way that was really for him, for us together.
Ah, yes.
And and it was with play, it was with mindfulness, and that's what started really this whole journey of Baby in Tune, which is the program that I created for parents and babies. Because once I had these songs, I ended up playing them for my producer. I wasn't even intending to play. He went to the bathroom and I just started like noodling on the guitar, playing one of the songs I had written for my baby. And my producer came in and said, "What was that? We need to record that. Do you have more of those?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I have a bunch of them." And so we turned them into songs, which I didn't think we were going to do. And we recorded the first album for parents and babies. And by that time, I was a music therapist already. I had a master's now in clinical psych, and and I was a mom and a musician, and everything came together. And I realized I need to help other parents learn how to connect to their baby because I now know how it feels not to, and I know
Mhm.
how what you need to do in order to make it happen. Even for those who already feel connected, how can they can enhance their connection? So I created.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful and something so needed by so many moms and dads.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, even just being in a group with other parents and other babies, even just that is already therapeutic.
Yeah.
As we know, support groups. But when you bring that and you add an element of singing together about your own experience as a parent, and you add an element of feeling a connection with your baby in class, because now you're learning new tools, how to do it. And so it's not just like you're reading about it and you're trying to do it at, you're Googling it. You're learning in class how to do it. And now you're experiencing this joy of actually
Mhm.
connecting with your baby in class. which I called in the book bubble moments, because what I realized years later, when I thought about how my teacher had drawn that bubble around the parent and the baby, is that that blissful bubble she talked about, that's not a constant, and it can't be. There's
Right.
no way. But we can have moments of bubble. And so I
Yeah.
called them bubble moments. And then the book came later, which was really to help parents understand how to have those bubble moments through music, through their voice, through rhythm, through mindfulness, through play.
That's fantastic. So let's just dive right into that. How do you create a bubble moment when you don't feel connected, when you're sore from breastfeeding, you're tired because you haven't slept, you haven't gotten yourself fed, you're thirsty, all the things are going on. And then you hurt because your body hurts when you're slunched over holding your baby with a bad posture. Like every part of you is not optimized. How do you find a bubble moment like that?
Yeah. So, what attachment theory teaches us is that, first of all, in order to connect with our baby, we need to be emotionally available to do so.
Hmm.
So, it really starts with the parent. And you're right, we are hunched over, we're tired, we're also resentful, and I think angry, and having all of our emotions, also feeling blissful, but also feeling frustrated.
It's everything when you've got a baby, isn't
It's
it? It's
everything.
everything forward. I remember, and I see it with my daughters too. They have the happy and the sad and the mad commingling so much that they themselves feel like a mess.
Exactly. So before I even get to tools of the practical tools, they're not going to do much unless we also have alongside that a place for the parent to feel validated, normal, to feel
Mm.
understood. And so that is going to us with it to a group and sitting with other parents. So that's one thing in my groups that we do. We talk about challenges and how that is. And that's something I do in my music, which also exists in this new album, which is that there's songs on there about it being hard to be a parent, about feeling a little angry at your baby. There's a song called Buttons, which is about like, you push my buttons. You know
Mhm.
my buttons and you push them, push them, push them. And so that's really the first step of helping parents is saying you're not alone. You're not abnormal for feeling angry or wondering, if you should be feeling different. Why does it look different on Instagram? Why does it look
Mhm.
different in the movies? Why is everyone like, the baby came and my life changed and everything was wonderful? It, maybe
You're right.
that'll happen.
You're right. That is the movie's depiction of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's the first step. And then,
Well, I want to comment on that. I guess I want to highlight that. Step one is to normalize that this happens to all of us, that you're not wrong, that there's nothing bad, there's nothing inherently bad with your baby, with you, anything. It's normal to have this big bag of all of it, and which includes feeling negative feelings towards your baby in moments too. So that normalizing is really, really helpful. So thank
that's
you for
right.
saying that.
Yeah. And along with that is the idea that it's okay to also express that to your partner, not just to your partner, not just to your friends, but also to your baby. It's okay for your baby to see you crying, to see that sometimes you get angry. You don't want to overwhelm your baby. So if you're feeling like your emotions about being a parent are overwhelming you and you're not able to keep them in check, then that's something different and you need to look for professional help and find other avenues. But if it's crying, saying like, "Oh, that was so annoying, baby. I'm trying to put on your diaper and this is frustrating." You know, that's
Mhm.
all fine and good. Along the way with our babies, we want to be able to express that in a way that's not overwhelming for them, scary for them, but in a way that's authentic to us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one part of what my songs do is say, like, yeah, feel it. Put this song on with your baby. Laugh about it. Dance with them about it. Sure, they do push your buttons. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Sometimes I find that I've said to my kids, well, you're going to laugh or you're going to cry. Which one? You get to pick.
That's good.
because there's no way not to express the emotions. And if we're, going to get angry, it's just one other way. Laugh, cry, get angry, whatever. It's going to come out. And
Yeah,
singing and laughing is a great expenditure of that so that we can get ourselves regulated again.
that's
Beautiful.
right. That's right. So then comes step two with the tools, which would be how can you use your voice or rhythm or mindfulness to regulate yourself while you're also connecting and playing with your baby. Or maybe it's not always about regulating, maybe you're in a great place, but finding a way to communicate, and this is where your expertise comes in, finding a way to communicate your baby with your baby in a way that you both meet on. So, and music just happens to be a perfect way, like tailored for parent and baby, because baby is speaking music from day one, even before that in the
Before
womb.
day one, yeah.
That's right. And the parent often speaks music. And if they don't, I have had parents in my classes say, well, but I'm not musical. But I say, even then, you can probably do something with rhythm. Not only that, even if you don't feel like you are a good singer, your baby still wants to hear you sing. So I can talk about, maybe like I can give your audience like one tool takeaway if you want.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Okay. So let's see. What's one that could be easy? So the first thing is there's a lot of surrender. There's, first of all, knowing you're not going to be doing these bubble moments all throughout the day, right? We said you can't possibly connect with your baby all day, but can you find a few minutes here and there during your day to have a bubble moment with your baby? And the best time to do bubble moments is when you're already with your baby. So we have kind of these groundhog moments of like morning when we're with our baby
Diaper,
in the morning. That's
feeding.
right. Exactly. Bath.
Yep.
That's right. And putting your baby to sleep. These are the moments that come around and around. And anyway, you're with your baby. So why not make those into bubble moments where you do put down your phone, where you shift your focus and come with more intention? And then there's a lot of different things you can do. One example would be, and this is the obvious example, but there's more to it, is like the lullaby. So let's say you're putting your baby to sleep. I know parents who might, they've had a long day and now they just want to zone out. And so baby's feeding, now they're on their phone. I get it. I so get it.
Mhm.
But what if you took the few minutes to say, you know what? I'm going to have a bubble moment with my baby right now, and I'll explain how in a second, so that when I go to sleep tonight, I'm not thinking to myself, I was with my baby all day, but I don't feel like I was actually with my baby. And all I'm remembering is my frustration. And I just feel like I want to get out of this period, because that's often how I felt. So
Mhm.
instead, it's shifting your focus to really connecting, which would mean singing a lullaby of some sort. Maybe it's a lullaby that your parents or grandparents sang, something that's meaningful to you. And there's a few ways to make the lullaby even more effective. So, one would be singing it for a long time for the first few months so that your baby can really begin to associate it with sleep. It's going to become like a behavioral cue. So your
Mm.
baby, and by the end of it, they're going to be rubbing their eyes and yawning just at the sound of the lullaby. I've seen it happen so many times in my classes. Good lullabies to use can be anything. They're often in three. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Rock-a-bye, baby. 1, 2, 3. Because it has a swinging sensation. My song Sleep My Baby has that kind of vibe. But it doesn't have to be. It really can be any song that makes the parent feel calm
Mm.
and in tune with how they're feeling and with their baby. Slow it down. So that's one, is picking your song and singing it in the first few months for, like, we're talking 40 minutes, and not just right as you're putting your baby down, but throughout the whole routine, getting your baby dressed, feeding your baby. Just keep singing it. Feel that. How is it to sing to your baby and to have your baby look up at you, hearing you sing?
Mhm.
Remember, your baby wants to hear you sing more than they want to hear Beyonce sing. Not only that, they want to hear you sing more than talk. There have been studies showing that babies respond to to us singing just like they respond to parentese, which is very sing-songy,
Hmm.
right? So they're so alert and awake, but also it calms them down. It soothes them more when we sing. The other part of the lullaby is the fade out. So you're going to keep singing, you're going to put your baby down and fade out with your voice. Give yourself a minute. It usually is a minute to have like imagine that you're like the volume knob and fade out, because when we do that fade out, we stay present. These are all ways to stay mindful in
Hmm.
with this bubble moment. Take breaths. We work on this in my classes. Can we take breaths in between as we're singing? Can this be calming for you? You know, a way for
Hmm.
you to like take a minute to relax and be with your baby, because in the end, the benefits of just this 3 minutes I just talked about, or 40 minutes if you're really doing the whole thing at the big for the first months, which I really recommend, they're huge. They're huge for your baby. By the end, what happens is that lullaby becomes, we talk about a transitional object, which is like the pacifier or the lovey, which
Hmm.
helps the baby soothe themselves
Hmm.
instead of the parent. But a song is like an emotional transitional object. That's how I think about it,
I love that. I've never
right?
thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, like, the nanny can sing that song, and baby is remembering the feeling, because songs hold so much emotion. We hear a song
Yeah.
from like high school, and we're there with
Yes.
all the feelings that come with it. So now, when nanny or grandma or whoever is singing the song, baby still feels that feeling of the connection, that bubble moment that you had.
Even though it's somebody else's voice.
Yes, because the music holds within it feeling, which like a
Yeah.
pacifier does not, but music
Sure.
does.
Well, that's genius. I love that. And I love the phrase that a song as the emotional transitional object. Uh, like I sang a lot with my kids, and my kids sing with their kids. This has been a common thing. I've seen the power of music in my work. I see the power of music. I sing to my students when they're dysregulated. What I found is that it helps me when I don't feel like singing is the
Yes,
most important time to sing. Do you
yes.
find that that's true for the parents you work with too?
Oh, absolutely. And for myself. So
Mm.
what I haven't told you yet is that that baby that first inspired the first album and Baby in Tune, he is now going to college.
Yes, yes, yes. And congratulations. I know that
Thank
you're
you.
delivering him as we're recording. You
That's
have
right.
delivered him to college. That's very
I
exciting.
That's funny that you're using the word delivering, because absolutely it's like a whole nother delivery. Um, and that same baby who inspired the first album created this last album with me. So this
Tell us about
last,
Adorable You. I love it.
yeah,
It's just been released. Tell us, tell us, tell
yeah.
us.
Yeah. But wait, before that, I just
Okay.
wanted to respond to your question before about singing, because it reminded me that on this, first of all, on this journey of taking him to college, I have been tearful at times.
Mm.
He's been having all this anxiety and having all these emotions, and it's coming out on mama as it does. And music has, like, it's really helped me get through this. And also, on this album, we have a song called Calming, which is a song of the parents singing, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm with you. Let's take a breath. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's a song where parent can like use it to calm themselves while they're calming their baby. And the vocalization is so soothing, because your breaths are regulating. So if you kind of turn
Mhm.
it into a mantra, you're singing, you're taking a breath, you're singing, which is the exhale, taking a breath, and you're singing, which is calming your baby. So you're really co-regulating together. The more you sing, the more you relax, the more your baby relaxes, it relaxes you.
I love that. What about the parent? and this is me, who doesn't want to sing in front of another adult because I know my singing voice is not that great, but I also know like the kids, they don't care if it's great or not. In fact, my niece used to say, "You're my favorite singer." And so I would sing in front of her all the time, but she was what, 3, 4 years old at the time. And so to that audience, I have a great singing voice. But, once somebody gets a little older, I just think they don't want to hear me.
Yeah.
What do you say to that parent?
Yeah. So first of all, at the beginning, you don't have to, nobody else needs to hear you besides your baby. To your baby, you are a rock star. That is the fact. It is.
Hmm.
Um, and there's this great story. One of the parents in one of my classes came one day and said, you're saying to sing to your baby, but I don't have a good voice. And this week I spoke to my dad, who always had an amazing voice, and he would sing to me and my sister. And she said, my sister and I would always say to him, "You should be famous. You should be a musician. You're so good." And the dad said to her, "Baby, I can't hold a note. You always thought I could, but I'm a terrible singer." And she realized that her baby just wanted to hear her sing. Now, you are correct that as our babies grow, they're going to say, "Nope, stop singing." And that's okay, because that's going to be it's just like with anything with parenting. There's phases. That might be a phase where your baby now wants to take singing for them. They want to claim
Well,
it
they're not a
as
baby anymore at that point, are they? We're
they're
talking
not a
they're
baby.
Yeah, they're a bigger kid now. They're in elementary age
Yeah, and
school.
they want to
Mhm.
claim it for themselves because they have seen you sing and heard you sing. Now they want to say, "No, no, no, I want that to be mine." But I do believe it comes back around. So I have an 11-year-old, and every morning I still sing to her, "Good morning, my love." And that's our moment. And I'm sure she rolls her eyes a little bit, like, "Ugh." But most of the time, as I start to sing, she kind of like brings me in for a cuddle. So it came
That's
back around.
that's sweet. That's very sweet. I know that with my kids, there was this song I had heard that was much more energetic. That was a good morning song than sweet. It was energizing. And just recently they were talking about, "Do you remember you were waking us up with that? I would get so mad at you." And you know what they're doing now? They
What?
sing it to each other like if they go do things. It's
Oh,
it's kind of like it's a tease, it's fun. There's love attached to it, and
yes.
they will do it, but at the same time, they also remember getting mad. And so it's funny to me that
Yeah.
what they got mad at as an elementary age kid, they now, as an adult, embrace very lovingly as a memory.
I love that. And I think that's the goal. I think that is exactly the goal. To sing sing silly songs to your baby, and to like make up stuff and do silly stuff like an overly energetic morning song, so that one day we're all laughing about it and making fun of it. I think that is the goal.
Well, then I
You
did
did
that one
good.
right. Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now tell me more about Peleg, your son, and how he was involved in this Adorable You album. What did he
Yeah.
do? How did he contribute?
Yeah. Well, when he was about 15, I didn't think I was going to make another album. I had already made 3 albums for parents and babies. It was like one per kid. The third one was about siblings, because by the time I had my daughter, I was so interested in sibling dynamics. And then
Mm.
years went by, COVID went by, and my son said to me, "Are you going to make another album?" And I said, "I don't know. Why are you asking?" And he said, "Maybe we should make one together." He was already producing his own music. He had turned into a musician in his own right. He was only 15, but he's very musical. And I said, "Wait a second. Are you saying you're going to also, like, you'll even write a diaper song? Like, you'll write music for babies with me?" And he said, "Yeah, let's try it."
How
And
fun. So it was initiated by him.
it was initiated by him. Um, I think as time went on, he was like, I don't know, like, are we really writing baby songs? But what he brought then was this kind of pop sensibility that I might not have brought. So he kind of turned the songs into styles that he would have wanted to do anyway, even if maybe the lyrics he wasn't connecting as much to that. He doesn't write lyrics, he just does the music.
Well,
Um,
that makes sense. He was 15 years old,
that's right.
but it probably connects to how deeply he felt positively about what you did with him, that he was even able to sustain in it. But not many 15-year-old boys, I would think, would be wanting to write about baby lyrics. But the idea that he's connected from the heart to it with you, through
Yeah.
you, is really quite beautiful.
Exactly. I mean, he
Yeah.
had been performing at my shows his whole life.
Ah,
We have one. I made a reel recently on Instagram of little clips of him leading up to the fact that he recorded with me, and you can see, he's 5 years old. He's playing ukulele on stage with me. He wasn't like part of the band, but every now and then, if he wanted to be, I would say, "Great, come sing." And he always had a great musical sensibility. So by the time this happened, you're right. It wasn't out of nowhere, but I was surprised that
sure.
he was open to this. I think for him, he thought, I want to make an album. I think it would be fun. And if that's your audience, then okay.
I love that. Wow, that's super cool. And I love it when our children grow into themselves and they honor the things that we had done. It's so validating as a parent
Yeah.
because sometimes we go through these experiences and we don't know what's going to stick. We don't know what they're valuing. We don't know what makes a difference until later.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if we had known later, earlier, then we would have added more of that in. I think that's part of the value that you're bringing to this conversation because you do know what happens later with music. And so you're able then to tell parents, do more of this now because you will reap the rewards later. I
Yes.
think that's a way
Yes.
that we have in common. Like for me, it's more communication, but music certainly is one form of communication. And I will say that probably, but I don't know that I should say 100%, but I think it's pretty close to it. Music is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful way to communicate.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And what I think we're on the same page with this. I'm not saying that if you do music, your kid is going to end up, obviously recording songs with you, become a musician. But that's not what we're going for. What we're going for is a love for music and a love for, being together in a
Hmm.
way that makes sense with
Hmm.
communication. So the more that the parents do music with their baby, but it's not doing it in a way like, well, I bet, I've read that my baby needs to hear music or that I better sing the ABCs. That's not it. That's not going to do it. What's going to do it is if the parent actually feels joy while they're doing this music with
Expand
their
more on that. I know that this is something that I have in my teaching a lot too, is that what mom and dad, or like whoever's holding the baby, the caregiver, whoever it is, what they're feeling at the time that they are interacting produces that connection or disconnection or calming or anxiety. And it's not necessarily always the words, it's not necessarily the rhythm, it's not the other things. It's that deep, the joy, like you say, that
yeah.
is or isn't present. Talk
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah, so much of what our baby is learning has to do with us. I always think of like even the baby in the first few weeks, they're doing social referencing with their parent. So
Mhm.
they're looking over like think about it as deer in the wild. Now there's like the parents and the baby deer, and now they're hearing a sound, and the baby is immediately looking at the parents. What are we doing? Are we running? Or what, how am I meant to feel about this? And I show parents in my classes, did you see what just happened right now? I came over a little closer to your baby, and your baby, in a split of a second, looked to you to understand, how do I feel about her? Do we trust her? Is she okay? And in that moment, baby is reading so quickly, is my mother or my father's face relaxed? That if so, I can, but they're picking up on a little twitch of the eyebrow. They're so sensitive. They're like little
Or the
emotional
body.
antennas. That's right, or the body. And so, same with all of these activities we're doing with our baby. Throughout them, your baby is looking like you take your kid, not even baby, let's say you take your kid skiing, and kid is getting from you like the little emotional antenna that they are. Is this fun for my parent? Because that's the only way I'm going to have good associations to this. If my parent is showing me and teaching me how to have fun doing this, if this activity contains within it joy, I'm going to remember it that way. And like we were saying before, with music, it just happens to be not just the activity, but like the song, the music becomes this capsule
Mhm.
of this in tune connection. So it's even more powerful. If I'm doing music and where I'm feeling joyful with my baby, now that song has so much power to it. Now I'm going to hear that's now your kids hear that silly morning song and they feel a little giddy, and they even feel giddy because they bond on being like angry at you for singing it. Like it holds that giddiness within it. And so I often say to parents, like, find your song, find songs for key moments in your day. Find a song for when you're like, you need to calm down. What's that song that's going to hold within it the calming, like your mom emergency song? What is that song? Or your baby emergency? What's the song that whenever your baby needs soothing, you sing this to your baby, and now years later, your baby's going to be humming that song. It's going to be their song that they hold and feel the feelings they felt with you. So yeah, same with the joy. And that's all we want. We don't want them to become necessarily musicians or, professional skiers. We just want them to feel joy when they're doing these activities.
Absolutely. I love that. I love how you connect all the real life. Now, this podcast is geared towards parents whose kiddos are struggling to speak or develop language or listening. And I would like you to speak to the power of music when children are not yet verbal, or they're struggling to respond verbally or develop language.
I would say the best thing is to start with rhythm. So there are studies showing how powerful rhythm is, not just in developing language. The reason it is powerful in developing language is because the syncopation teaches babies about syncopation in language. So language is syncopated, right? Even how I just said that. And
Explain syncopated for our listeners that don't
okay.
understand that. Bump, 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 bump.
Right. So not syncopated would be language is syncopated. Everything is on the same beat. And for instance, in music, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But with syncopation, there's also the beats in between. So it's 1 ta, 2 ta, 2 ta, 2 ta, ta ta, 2 ta ta. So there's all these beats in between, which can be, quarter notes or eighth notes or dotted quarter. It doesn't matter about the musical language, not important. But what's important is that that way that parents do it naturally. A lot of us, when we're even drumming, we do it naturally, certainly when we're speaking. So this helps your baby understand these nuances in language. So that's one reason that drumming helps. But drumming in a group especially has been shown to help babies with language and communication too, because they're feeling in sync with a group, they're feeling in sync with their parent. And so here's just like a simple thing parents can do. You don't even need a drum. You can just start with that simple beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you want to change to different sounds. So maybe you're tapping on the table. Now you're moving to snaps. Now you're changing the sound and moving to claps. So you're just simply moving from one sound to another in a simple beat. That's the first step. And I'm telling you, babies are entranced by the change of sounds each time. Every time you move to a new sound, baby's going to go, ooh, what's that? And so they're listening so closely to rhythm, which of course mimics the heartbeat that they heard in the womb, the steps that you were taking as you were walking in the womb. And then you can start with a little syncopation, like let's say you're going 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe now you're going 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then you just start playing with it. But that's not even necessary. So if parents are listening and going, nope, no idea what she's talking about, not going to do that, that's okay. Even just the 1, 2, 3, 4, clapping along to songs, tapping to songs, just showing your baby rhythm is going to be very impactful for them. And eventually they will start to do it with you. And one more thing to do with this is, like, if you're using shakers or something that makes noise, is also to do like a noise, soft, quiet. So something, nothing. I teach parents the something, nothing game is like a game that will take them all through their babyhood. So like shaking, stopping. this is also teaching your baby dynamics of sound and the rhythm of like, noise and not noise and a repeating pattern. So rhythm is very much in a pattern that your baby starts to learn. There's so many ways I could go on and on about how music can help with language, and I'm sure you can too,
Well,
but that's just one.
yeah, I just feel like keep talking. This is so great because it matches, everything that I know from speech pathology. How does the brain work? How is the listening our basis, our foundation for all the things? I do episodes where we talk about rhythm. I teach rhythm and the importance of rhythm in classes when I've got parents of very young children and babies. And I love how you're using the word baby to refer to what it seems like your child. It doesn't
Yes.
really matter the age. You're calling them your baby, which is something we all do. Like my baby is 29.
My baby just went off to college.
It still matters.
Yeah,
It still
that's right.
stays with them and it's so good. You have given so much glorious content to our listeners, and I thank you for being here. Now, if our listeners want to contact you more, to get more information from you, to work with you or anything else, what would they do?
Okay, so first thing, they can go listen to my new album on Spotify or Amazon or iTunes. It's called Adorable You, and that's where they'll find that calming song, they'll find the button song, and a whole bunch of other songs that will be helpful during their day, including a diaper song. He did end up writing it with me.
Funny. I love
Um,
it.
and
And
then
I
they can
listened
find
to some. I want to say they're fantastic. Very, very fantastic songs.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Hmm.
Oh, and I should say that the last song is all about writing it with my son and the emotional process that it was and how it was to feel like him being 15, which is when we wrote it. He was 15, now he's 17, was just like the day I brought him home from the hospital. So definitely parents should listen to that. They can also find me on Instagram at Baby in Tune. Um, Same with TikTok. And my website is also Baby in Tune. So I would love to hear from anyone. They're welcome to ask questions. I'll send them whatever I've got, the music or anything they can't find, lyrics, chords, people often ask. And also, I've got a bunch of, what are they called? Like cheat sheets of how to do this stuff. So, like how to do the rhythm, I'd be happy to send it.
I love it. So, listeners, you will find all of that in the show notes and you can connect with Vered. And maybe not all of it because that was a lot. So, we'll strategically pick what to put into the show notes.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so that's great. Thank you for being such a wonderful resource for parents. And I love how your musical knowledge, which is a different area, different field from mine, mirrors and matches and is so aligned with what I know to be true for teaching our kids communication development in all ways. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. I love the work that you're doing. I am just really honored to be on this podcast. So thank you.
Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can find your link to buy Vered's music in the show notes and find your own bubble moments with your kids. And you can find the waitlist link in the show notes so you can join me when we do our next group coaching experience. Hey parents, I hope you found this episode helpful. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who also lives or works with children? I would really appreciate it if you would leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. I read every review and it lights me up to know that this show is making a difference. Then come join my Facebook community, where you'll meet other parents who are dedicated to helping their children grow too. You'll find the link in the show notes. Thank you for joining me. Now it's time to go. Let's pop our kiddos in the strollers and go look around outdoors and see what we have to talk about.